Next, we're going to move over to the power panel. Many of you have been driving VA vehicles for a while. We use this type panel in a lot of our vehicles, and you may already be familiar, but for the sake of the video, we'll talk about it a little bit. Upper right here and also right here, again, the unit number. I talked about that earlier on the key fob on the sets of keys. 17305 is what Farber's going to want to know when they talk to you on the phone to identify your truck. The panel right here is our Cummins Onan generator stop start with an hour meter and some light flash codes there. It being a diesel, diesels have to preheat. They preheat the cylinders before they'll start or crank to start, and when you press the stop start preheat side of this switch, nothing's going to happen. The light's going to blink, and continue to hold that switch, and when the preheat is finished, its cycle, and you'll hear the generator starter engage and the generator will start. At the end of the day, no longer need the use of the generator. You're going to press the stop side of the switch and hold it until the generator's quiet and shut it down. Before you stop the generator, there's another handout that's going to remind you of that. You don't want to stop the generator when everything here is turned on. You've got summertime, both air conditioners on, or wintertime, you've got the electric heaters on. You don't want to have that all on, not only when you stop the generator or when you're trying to start the generator. Everything off, and then you do your stop start. Hour meter, the maintenance schedule, I showed you a copy of that earlier. It goes in the info bag. It'll tell you X number of hours are accumulated on the generator and what service procedure needs to be done at that time. If you have a damaging fault at a generator, you may see some blink codes up here. The run light will be flashing, maybe 2 blinks, pause, 2 blinks, pause, or whatever. Here's some of the blink codes: high temperature, low oil pressure, or service required. And there's more of those codes in the on the generator CD that I pointed out to you earlier in the info bag. So be aware of that. I mentioned the 2 battery systems. You've got your engine start batteries or chassis batteries. I showed you the disconnect on the dash for those. This is the auxiliary battery disconnect. So if you're totally shutting down the vehicle and it's parked, going to be parked for a while, you probably want to turn those aux batteries off, disconnect the aux batteries. If you have the luxury of being able to plug the vehicle in where it's parked, some vet centers can do that, then you can leave the aux battery on, leave the, as soon as I find the converter, battery charger, another name for the converter, that needs to be on. If you have the vehicle plugged in when it's out of use, wherever you park it, underneath a canopy or whatever, and you would then want to leave the aux battery disconnect on, have the battery charger on, keep your batteries always at a state of full charge and ready to go, if you can do that. If not, you're not going to plug the vehicle in when it's out of use. Everything off, batteries off, and you'll be fine. We'll go back up to the 12-volt DC panel. middle section here, battery test, not used, doesn't have any function on your vehicle. We have 2 informational meters, a line voltage meter, a load current meter. Line voltage, batteries are being charged through the battery charger here. They're 12-volt batteries, should be something above 12 volts, around 13 volts. The batteries are happy. Load current in amps. The more things you turn on, the more the amp meter is going to go up. Most of the breakers here involve lighting. You've got a main breaker that will control the whole panel. Up at the top, front room lighting, middle room lighting, and so on. Also, you have some outside lights. Winter days start to get shorter. You might have a need in the evening or early morning to have some outside lights on. Anytime you see the letters PS, it's something located on the passenger side of the vehicle. DS is the lighting over on the driver's side, and of course there's a rear light back there. Compartment lights are your under compartments. Some of your compartments underneath the vehicle have lights in them, so you can selectively have that on. This is an important breaker here. Heating, ventilation, air conditioner, HVAC thermostat. We already looked at one of the thermostats. If you forget to turn this on, and you have the front air conditioner, rear air conditioner on, and nothing is happening, you don't want to right away call Farber. You think you've got an air conditioning problem. All that happened was you forgot to turn on the thermostats. The thermostats run off of 12 volts. The air conditioners run off of 120 volts AC. So be aware of that breaker to make your thermostats work and your air conditioners work. Plumbing system is for your 12 volt water pump. Systems we just looked at in the bathroom. Refrigerator is a multi-voltage refrigerator. It can work off of 12 volt DC, or it can work off of refrigerator down here, 120 volts AC. If you don't have any AC power available, don't have the generator running, or you don't have the shore cord plugged in, you still want the refrigerator to stay cold, you can leave this breaker on and it'll run off of batteries. If you've got a long weekend, holiday or whatever, and you've got this on for a lengthy period of time and the vehicle's not plugged in, no power down here, you're going to kill the auxiliary batteries because of the current draw from the refrigerator. TV antenna booster and exterior PA system. The TV antenna booster is this device right down here in the corner. Little green light on, little black button beside it there. And for if you're used to watching your favorite TV station and suddenly it isn't coming in anymore, it's pixelating, weak signal, somebody might have bumped the black button, lights out, and you lost your TV reception through the TV antenna. And that's what that's about, and that's what this breaker up here is telling you. TV antenna booster. The other part of that breaker and what it protects is the exterior public address system. And when we get outside, I will show you the outside stereo system and the PA public address system. The awning we've talked about, and extending and retracting the awning. I would recommend that this breaker is left off except when you're using the awning. If you have the awning deployed, leave it on. It has a wind sensor built into it, and if the wind gets around 20 miles per hour or more, it has power available, it will automatically retract the awning before it tries to self-destruct out there in the wind. Other than that, I would leave it off so you don't get into an accidental awning deployment situation. Both panels are piano hinged at the bottom, screws up here, and they'll swing out. And if maintenance needs to get to replace a breaker or get to the wiring behind those panels, it's easy to do that, service friendly. We'll move down next to the 120, 240 volt system, similar to the power you have in your house. If you look in the middle of the panel here, and before we do that, informational meters. Line voltage is on the left, house power about 120 volts AC, and load current in amps. The more stuff you have on, the air conditioners or the heaters, load current in amps will go up. You have a line test switch here. It allows you to look at the power being consumed over here on this side of the panel. and the power you're using over here on this side of the panel for your line test switch. In the middle we have two choices of power with a slide interlock. We can notice the green light's on right now on what's called the Shore main, 50 amps. That's the big black cord that you can plug into somebody else's power. We're plugged in right now to Farber building power. Again, many of you may already be familiar with the Shore cord. So that's one source of power. If you can plug in, have that luxury of being able to plug in. Otherwise, you're normally going to be running the generator. This green light will be off. Generator's started and running. This green light will be on. Your slide interlock will be over to the left, and your generator main will be on, and the Shore main will be off. The interlock does so you can't have both sources of power at the same time. You have to choose one or the other. Everything inside this white line, this border right here, is 240 volts as opposed to 110 up here, and that's your electric heaters and where they're located. Front room, baseboard, exam room, and a spare for future use. Remotes. I already showed you the one remote. They're all the same. They're all on the same frequency, the Vizio monitors. Be a little selective as to where you're standing when you're working the remote, because all three of the Vizio monitors are on the same frequency, and you might be up here changing the stations or inputs on this one, and you're standing out in the aisleway here, and you're also changing the stations and inputs on that forward monitor at the same time. The sensor's at the lower right corner, so if you kind of intentionally have the remote close to the lower right corner, you'll only be affecting this monitor. The second remote that we have here has the Sony label on it. And if you look up underneath here, we get a camera shot there. This is the Sony, as I find it, right here, Sony Blu-ray player. Power button there. Whoop, that's the eject button. So that's a Sony Blu-ray player, and if you want to use the remote, that's the one you'll need to work your Blu-ray player. The Sony Blu-ray player, if you have it on and there's no activity, nobody's watching a video, it's just sitting there and it's on, no activity, it will power down and you'll have to power it back up again when you're ready to use it. Lexmark color laser printer, and everything below the rack here, we've got the matrix switch already connected for our inputs and outputs. But the Altasat people, which I mentioned earlier, Altasat is your third-party support for your VSAT video conferencing and phone system, and data jacks. As we're walking around here, you're going to see it in different places around, inside and outside the vehicle, data jacks. And the Altasat people will be getting together with you for a training on that equipment that they support.